What's up everyone, River here, and this is my team builder for week 4 of the PTL against the Ladner Lanturns and Coach Ian. He's currently undefeated, as you can tell, 3-0, but there are some asterisks to it which I find quite interesting. The first one is that he's won every single game with a 1-0 differential. The second one is that he's fought every single replacement coach so far, which some people consider discrediting because the people who he played didn't draft him themselves, but at the same time he's played really solidly in those games and I have no reason to underestimate him, especially since I'm no longer undefeated, as you can tell. So with that short introduction, let's get to the actual team builder. And this week the team's obviously on your right, and these are the 6 Pokemon I'm bringing on the left. Let me just go over them and do the usual spiel. First off, we bring in the 2 new Pokemon, starting off with the Chandelure. The Chandelure, I don't know why I just pronounced it like that. The Chandelure is here to outspeed everything with the Choice Scarf, unless other things are Choice Scarfed on his side. Shadow Ball, he has only a single switch into, and that is the Scrafty. And while Scrafty is a really solid switch in, it has no way of guaranteeing the knockout on Chandelure because it does not get pursuits. With that in mind, Shadow Ball seems a relatively spammable move until, once Scrafty is gone, and if Scrafty is not gone, I'm going to assume it is a switch-in. That's why I'm also bringing Will-O-Wisp. Flamethrower is there also in case I want to hit, not the Memo, but the Registeel a little bit harder, or if I expect Scrafty to come in the second time and I just want to be able to actually deal damage to it. And the Energy Ball is there in case I need to deal some extra damage to the Wishy-Washy, who he recently acquired. He originally had Armaldo, but he opted to get Wishy-Washy, which I do find kind of scary, because I feel that Wishy-Washy plus either Slowking or Mimikyu could be a very threatening duo due to Trick Room. So Energy Ball's there just so I'm able to hit a little bit harder if need be, even though I'm not even certain if he's bringing it. Originally I had Trick there, but I don't feel like there's anything I want to trick a Scarf in particular, with the exception of maybe Registeel. But I think I need the Scarf on Chandelure more than I need to cripple something else. So I opted for Energy Ball instead. Like I said, the speed is there to outspeed Mega Latios with my Scarf, and everything else that's non-scarfed. Max special attack because I want to be able to do as much damage as possible. It gives me 2-hit KO on Registeel with Flamethrower, it gives me 2-hit KO on pretty much anything if I predict the switching correctly. And the remainder is put into bulk just to hopefully be able to take a hit from something. Next up, the other newcomer, or rather the first time entering the field hopefully, is the Golisopod. And this is a relatively simple set. It's simply just max attack with some bulk, dual stab, spikes there to allow either Chandelure or later Hawlucha to more easily deal with a couple of his Pokemon, and Sucker Punch if I assume that the next hit that Golisopod will take will do enough damage to activate Emergency Exit, because yeah, everybody knows that's the one reason why Golisopod isn't particularly good. Its stats are solid, its distribution is good, but that ability really holds it back. That's also the reason why I'm running the Citrus Berry, because how the ability works is that you first take the damage, then some other stuff can happen, like for example an item activation, and after that it will check if you're above 50% or not. So if the Citrus Berry heals me back up to above 50%, the ability won't activate and I'll still get my attack off, assuming I'm slower, which, let's be honest, Golisopod most of the time will be. So its goal is to be somewhat of a wall breaker at times. It's my dedicated switch at the Mamoswine, because unless it's rocking a rock type move, it cannot really hurt Golisopod. For that reason, I was also considering the Charlie Berry, but I think the Citrus Berry in general will be more useful, as I'm not entirely convinced he will run the Stone Edge or the rock type move. And like I said, it's a wall breaker. It is my dedicated Mamo switch in, and it's there to set up spikes, so Hawlucha and Chandelure will have an easier time. With that, I also need something to significantly threaten him during the mid-game, and for that we have a Choice Band Tyranitar. With Crunch, Earthquake, Superpower, and Stealth Rock. A reason for this one is quite simple. It can come in on a decent amount of Pokemon. It can threaten almost anything out with the raw damage, and can either pick up a KO if I get a switch in predicted correctly, or set up rocks. So once again, Hawlucha or um, Chandelure. Why do I forget its name? Chandelure has an easier time potentially sweeping or doing significant damage to his team. It's a very straightforward set. I can't really say much about it. I don't have any super special sets except for the next two, even though the next one isn't very special, which is the dual screen Tapu Fini. It's a purely physically defensive set, once again to help deal a little bit better with Mamo. It helps me deal with Mimikyu to an extent. This is also my dedicated Wishy-Washy answer, even though it is purely physically defensive, because Wishy-Washy can't hit Tapu Fini. The big reason why Wishy-Washy, even with its amazing stats, I mean, let's be honest, if he has, I believe it's 120 and over on everything except for health and speed, like, that's straight up amazing. But its coverage is absolutely horrendous, because it only gets stabbed in water, ice coverage, and just ice beam, I believe, and it gets earthquake? I'm pretty confident that those are like the only 3 good moves it gets. Maybe it gets normal coverage, but nobody cares about normal coverage. With that in mind, Tapu Fini easily walls even a Hidden Power variant, like Hidden Power Grass or Hidden Power Electric. Those do not 2-hit KO. And it's simply here to just weaken it, weaken some other Pokemon, and set up those screens so that eventually something can sweep. And that something, most likely, will be Hawlucha. Once again, it's not a Misty Seed variant, it is a Unburden variant this time, but this time I'm opting for the weakness policy. The reason for this is that the special defense bonus for Misty Seed is, in my opinion, very irrelevant. Especially when you consider that this Mega most likely will run Side Shock over Psychic, anticipating that special defense boost, because Hawlucha, with a little bit of HP investment, can live the Psychic with the +1 Spef. So I don't feel like that's too important. The physical defense here is so that under Reflect, it can take both an Icicle Crash from Life Orb Mamoswine, I believe, and an Ice Shard, or even a Play Rough from Mimikyu plus the Ice Shard from Mamoswine, so that I am allowed to click Swords Dance, take super effective damage, go all the way up to +4, and then attempt to sweep him. The goal, like I said, is I need some chip to take out a couple of Pokemon, most notably a physically defensive Slowking, and I believe I'd need 1 Spike in order to 1-hit KO a Tangela. So, again, the attacks on themselves are very straightforward. There's Dual Stab, Drain Punch to regain some health and hopefully be able to live through any other priority other than Ice Shard. Acrobatics is my main form of damage because there will be items acrobatics, so base 120, and also it stabs like Drain Punch, so it hits a little bit harder on anything that both hit neutral. And lastly, there is Stone Edge for mainly the Zapdos, but to an extent also the Rotom Heats, because depending on the set and depending on if I have rocks up or not, Drain Punch might not get the knockout, so Stone Edge for that would also be very nice. As I already explained, the defensive investment, the speed investment is also quite simple. It is there to outspeed Latios, so that adds +2, that even if I get hit with something like a Thunder Wave, I will still be able to outspeed the Mega... Wait, is it Latios? Hold up. I think this is Latios. Yeah, that is Latios. Whoops, sorry about that. Nice background as well. But no, this is Mega Latios, and this will allow me to outspeed Mega Latios even if something gets a Thunder Wave off, which should not happen if I play this accordingly, but it's a backup. It's mainly just there because the defensive investment is enough to outlive anything under screens, and the speed is there, so I outspeed anything. Even, I think he had something that could set up to +2, but that's not very important right now. Lastly, this was kind of a filler slot, but I'm opting for the Galvantula simply because it has some really good offensive presence against its team. The main exception would obviously be Mamoswine, and the Registeel if it's specially defensive. But I feel that Galvantula can put in a lot of work and it can give me some momentum with Volt Switch. Sticky Webs, while I don't think I'm going to rely on them, could potentially end up being useful because of things like Mimikyu. Maybe that was the speed for Tyranitar. To outspeed Mimikyu on the webs. I'll have to figure that out before the match, which isn't soon, but want to get this recorded before I forget about it, because I feel like I'm about to. Anyway, that is the idea behind the Avengela. Again, the speed is there to outspeed. This is a base 105. I don't have the Pokemon in front of me right now, but I could assume that base 105 refers to... Actually, it might just be base 100 and Zapdos. No, that's Mienja. Okay, yeah. Like, I have not fully memorized this team because I had a little bit less time to prep for this one rather than the other matches, or compared to the other matches. I'm not getting my words out properly right now. Point is that I had a little bit less time to prep for this one, so I don't know his team from the top of my head. So you notice me cheating a little bit twice there to check up his team, because I don't see it. You guys can see it, but I can actually see it. And yeah, his dual stab hits pretty much everything, but some Pokemon can not resist it, but rather just tank it due to the raw bulk. And it's mainly just there to get momentum and to have a secondary check to Wishy-Washy. And with that, I think that will be the end of the team builder. Tune in tomorrow for the actual match, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Until then.